Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is one of the best comic book TV shows out there. Currently, I'm on a rewatch, and I'm finding a lot of my opinions have changed about the show. So I thought, well, why not look at some hot takes on the internet and go through them with you. All of these hot takes are just from the S.H.I.E.L.D. Reddit. I can't find many other websites that contain a bunch of them, so I'm just using this as a source. You may have seen some of these before, but this is the best way of me doing this for now. So let's get into it. So our first hot take here is by Corn BP. Now this hot take is kind of interesting. While I'd say most agree with the placement of Season 4 at the start, I think a lot of people here are going to have issues with Season 6 and 5. Me personally, Season 5 is up there with 4. They're very close together for me. As I've recently rewatched the seasons, Season 6 is not bad at all, but a lot of people tend to have it lower down in the list, me included. So having it up there in top 3 actually shocks me. But yeah, nothing compared to Season 5 being at the bottom. Series 7 and 8 dragged things out too much. I can understand why they wanted to keep Clark Gregg, but that Robo Coulson was too much. I can kind of agree with this. Let me first go back to the Season 7 and 8 thing. Don't know what season they watched at Season 8. I kind of wish there was a Season 8. Jealous that they got to see that. Where was it for the rest of us?
That's not fair! That's not fair!
But the Coulson thing, I can kind of agree with. It felt very forced that he was in the show. It kind of worked for where the show is heading, and they can easily fit him into that with the Chronicom story, but it was literally just there so they could have him back. And again, I think it's my same issue with Season 6. Having Coulson is just, they thought Season 5 was the end, and they kind of didn't want to get rid of their main character, so they were like, let's try and bring this guy back somehow. I think it works, though, for the season, but I can kind of understand that. It dragging things out, I guess, but both seasons are still pretty good. Also, this guy must really love the 11th Doctor. Cannot blame him, he's pretty good. Now, this next one says, the episodic plotting wasn't the problem with the early episodes, the dialogue was. Now, I think most people will disagree with this, purely because I think a lot of people would say the episodic plotting is the main issue for them. I mean, before this show came out and after this show came out, you had shows with the episodic style, and it works. And I think it does work in this. You get a lot of time with the characters. It also sets up the overarching story a little bit. And the single stories are just fun. And it gets you used to certain terms they use in S.H.I.E.L.D., how S.H.I.E.L.D. works. And overall, I don't think it necessarily hurts the first season. It fits the style they were going for. But I would say I agree with this hot take personally. But I think a lot of people would not. This next one comes from a person called Nikio, and they have a lot of hot takes, so we're going to go through a few of them, but I won't go through all of them. The first one is obviously the Spies Goodbye. Now, I personally had an issue with the fact that it felt that it came out of nowhere. It was sudden, and it felt really odd. I think them trying to do the Spies Goodbye and trying to be all secretive when they were the most obvious spies I think I've ever seen. It didn't really work for me. So by this person saying they're over dramatic, it's forced, 100% I agree with this. The Ghost Rider showing out of nowhere thing, I agree. I hate it. I like Ghost Rider, although that first arc is the weakest of the season. I enjoy the character. I enjoy what they did with him. I just think having him show up literally for the last episode because he's the only thing that can kill Ada was very cheap. I did like the twist with Coulson getting the Ghost Rider, that leading to his issue with him dying. I like that portion of it, but it still felt very cheap. At least have him come up a few more times throughout the season, just so it doesn't feel as rushed and as it feels like they didn't think of how the season would end, and they kind of got to that ending 3 episodes and were like, crap, what do we do now? How do we get rid of her? And I kind of didn't like that. Now, this person seems to have an issue with Davis's death. I think it's actually really good. I think they had him killed off purely because they didn't want to kill off a main character, but they needed to show the threat of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think the way they killed him was horrible, and I think they handled it really well because she literally could kill any of them if she wanted to without even trying, and they kind of can't do anything about it. It was very shocking. The final one from this person is the fact that we never got to see Coulson's letter to Daisy. I kind of wish we saw it, but I also am glad we didn't. I'm not decided. I don't know. It's a weird one. I think it works not seeing it, because then you can kind of think of what he wrote in that letter and just make it up for yourself. But at the same time, I would have loved just like a voiceover from Clark Gregg reading this really nice, sad letter. This next one says, I do not like Daisy at all. The character is annoying and hypocritical in her actions constantly. The rest of the cast is much stronger. Now, to start with the annoying and hypocritical thing, I think initially her character is meant to kind of be like that. Like, the whole thing is she hates S.H.I.E.L.D. The whole rest of the main characters, cast, whatever, is S.H.I.E.L.D. So she's going to be annoying, especially towards them. And then hypocritical, yes, that makes sense. She started out hating S.H.I.E.L.D. In the end, she's with S.H.I.E.L.D. Again, that makes sense. Her being much better or much worse than the rest of the cast is... I don't know if I can agree. I don't know my strong opinions on that. I do enjoy her. There's many characters I'd put above her. I don't know. You know what? I'll leave that up to you. Do you agree with this? Yes or no? Let me know in the comments. I would love to find out because I can't decide. Why don't we end this video on one of the most hottest takes of all time? I do not like Fitz. I don't know if it's the way he's written or played, but he just doesn't click with me at all. I have never met anyone that has seen a show that does not like Fitz. I've never read anything online about hate for Fitz. Only during season 1, but it's less hate, more just he's boring because he doesn't have much character to him, and he's very similar to Simmons. That's the closest thing to hate I've seen. But people don't like him, or this person doesn't. I mean, I don't know how you can. Like, for me at least, he seems, from season 1, so inexperienced. He seems so young. He's thrown into this field operation. He's part of this team. He doesn't really like it. He doesn't want to do it. Doesn't want to go out and do it. Yet, he's forced into that situation, kind of. And then it ends up leading to him having brain trauma. And that second season is hard to watch when he's on screen. Like, it's done really well, and his acting is great. But it is hard to watch for me. And in season 3, just seeing his mental breakdown at the start, like, all of that, it just makes me feel for his character. Like, I don't want anything else bad to happen to him. Like, it just seems that everything bad does happen to him, and he is just so likable. Like, I don't know how anyone can have this opinion. I mean, I don't know if they're going off of, like, the end of the seasons, so, like, literally the end of the show, because maybe that takes into account his framework self, which kind of, like, makes his character very unpredictable, and you don't really know what you're gonna get. Otherwise, I don't know how there's issues with him. Like, he is amazing. Now, much like the last one, if you agree with this, you've got to let me know. I actually want to know how many people agree that Fitz is not a good character, because honestly, I don't think there's anyone but this person. This has got to be the only person. That's all I got for this video. If you did enjoy, please hit that like button. If you really enjoyed the content and want to see more stuff around the MCU, S.H.I.E.L.D., etc., please subscribe. I do have 2 other videos currently out that are about the return of S.H.I.E.L.D. and if it is likely to happen within the MCU in the next few years. I'm going to make a video very soon on how S.H.I.E.L.D. can maybe be reintegrated as an organization, and I think that one will be really interesting, so you want to stay tuned for that. That is all I have for today, though, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.